The ruthless art of becoming dangerously valuable. Machiavelli power. That's the word people pretend not to crave, but secretly live for. Everyone wants to be respected, feared, needed. Yet most spend their lives begging for approval instead of building leverage. Machiavelli once revealed a truth too dangerous for the ordinary mind, that to survive, you must become valuable enough that losing you becomes a problem for others. The world doesn't reward kindness, it rewards necessity. You are either an asset or an obstacle. Nobody cares about you until they need something from you. Your worth, in most eyes, is not defined by your soul, your intentions, or your dreams, but by what you can offer. The friend who calls you every day will vanish when you stop being useful. The boss who praises your effort will replace you when someone cheaper appears. The world's loyalty is transactional. And once you accept that, you stop wasting energy trying to be liked and start focusing on becoming irreplaceable. To be valuable, you must produce something rare. If you do what everyone else does, you'll be treated like everyone else. But when your knowledge, your presence, or your talent fills a gap no one else can, that's when power begins to orbit you. Because when people need you, they start to protect you. They depend on you, they fear what happens if you walk away. That is the foundation of power, dependency. Ask yourself this: what can I do that others can't easily replace? The answer determines your future. To become dangerously valuable, you must develop rare skills. You must refine them in silence while others seek attention. You must study when they sleep. You must execute when they talk. People will call you obsessed, arrogant, detached. Let them. Obsession is the birthplace of excellence. Detachment is the shield of the powerful. Because while they waste time proving themselves to everyone, you're quietly becoming the one no one can afford to lose. There's a reason the strategist sits above the soldier. The soldier fights, but the strategist decides when and why. Knowledge, cold, structured, useful knowledge creates hierarchy. You don't climb the ladder by shouting louder. You climb it by becoming so essential that the system itself bends to keep you in place. To be valuable is not just a skill game, it's psychological warfare. You must learn how people think, what they fear, what they desire, and how they justify their actions. Every interaction is a negotiation, every word a move on the board. And while others react emotionally, you must remain unreadable. Emotional control is the highest form of intelligence. When you control your emotions, you control your actions. When you control your actions, you control outcomes. And when you control outcomes, people start depending on you for direction. That's the point when your influence seeps in silently, not through force, but through relevance. They will start to look to you for answers, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Never forget, silence creates mystery, and mystery breeds value. When people can't fully predict you, they overestimate you, and overestimation is a powerful weapon. Becoming valuable also requires learning what to refuse. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot please everyone. Those who try to help everyone end up helping no one, especially not themselves. Set boundaries so sharp that they cut through manipulation. The moment someone disrespects your time or worth, withdraw completely. Let your absence teach the lesson your words never could. You must make people feel the cost of losing you. And when they do, they'll think twice before wasting your presence again. Generosity without calculation leads to slavery. But controlled generosity, the kind that builds loyalty and debt, creates power, help, but always with intention. Give, but always with awareness, because every favor is a string you can pull later. The most powerful individuals understand that relationships are not built on love, they're built on leverage. Being valuable is not just about what you are, it's about how you are perceived. You can have immense skill, but if people don't see it, it's useless. Perception is a form of currency. Control it ruthlessly, dress with intent. Speak with calm authority, never overshare, never rush to explain yourself. The more you reveal, the more they can use against you. In a world addicted to exposure, secrecy is power. While everyone screams for attention, your silence will make them listen harder. Be like a locked vault. Everyone wants to know what's inside, but no one ever gets the full key. Machiavelli taught that appearance often outweighs reality. So appear powerful long before you truly are. Act with quiet confidence, and the world will fill in the gaps with its imagination. And when people start to believe in your strength, they will act accordingly, even before you prove it. The journey to becoming dangerously valuable is lonely. You will lose friends. You will outgrow people who once meant everything. Because not everyone can understand a mind that moves strategically. While others talk of dreams, you will act on plans. While they chase validation, you will chase results. The cost of power is isolation, but the reward is independence. In the end, the most dangerous value is self-sufficiency. When you no longer depend on approval, money, or permission, you become untouchable. People will try to understand you, copy you, or compete with you, but they will fail because your value isn't built on what they can see. It's built on what you've silently mastered in solitude. The true power lies in what remains unseen, the hours of discipline, the choices made in silence, the sacrifices no one noticed. The world only sees the outcome, never the process. That's why they call it luck, not understanding that your consistency was the architect behind your fortune. They only respect results, never the pain that built them. So let them underestimate you. Let them believe you got lucky. The less they know, the more power you hold. Understand, this value is not about what you do once. It's about what you can do repeatedly under pressure. It's about reliability, control, and precision. You become valuable when others crumble and you remain calm. When chaos erupts, the world seeks the one who doesn't panic, the one who sees clearly when others drown in confusion. That person is the true pillar of power. To become that, you must strip away every weakness that feeds dependency, emotional, financial, or social. Dependence is slavery disguised as comfort. The more you rely on others to validate or sustain you, the more control they have over your life. Build your mind, your skill, and your income until you can stand alone. Independence is the loudest form of respect you can ever command. Becoming dangerously valuable also means becoming unpredictable. Predictable people are easy to control. Those who always react the same way can be manipulated by anyone who learns their patterns. But when your next move is unknown, you become a mystery. And mystery creates fear. The fear of not knowing what you might do next is enough to keep even the powerful cautious around you. Your strength must be quiet, your moves deliberate, your words measured. The truly powerful don't speak to impress. They speak to influence. Every sentence must have weight. Every silence must have purpose. When you talk less, people listen more carefully. When you withhold, they chase harder. When you disappear, they remember. Control your presence like a weapon. Appear when it serves you. Withdraw when it strengthens your position. When you become scarce, your value multiplies. But if you are always available, your worth evaporates. Scarcity creates desire, even in human relationships. Becoming dangerously valuable is not just about success. It's about understanding human nature. Most people operate out of fear, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of being forgotten. Use that knowledge, but never become a slave to it. Recognize people's needs before they recognize them themselves. Anticipate desires. Predict emotions. That's how influence begins, not by force, but by foresight. Every king, every ruler, every leader throughout history mastered this art. They understood that the strongest form of control is not domination, but dependency. They didn't have to rule with violence when others couldn't function without them. That's the state you must reach. Don't demand loyalty, design it. Build systems, relationships, and results that make others rely on your existence. And remember, your enemies will always try to mimic your value. They'll copy your style, your tone, your image. Let them. Copies can never outlast the original because imitation always follows, never leads. The world can replicate your appearance, but never your essence. Your essence comes from experience, struggle, and choices no one else was brave enough to make. When you walk through life with calm confidence, people sense it. They don't know why they respect you. They just do. They sense the discipline behind your silence, the storms you've endured, the scars you don't show. That's real power. You don't need to explain your worth. You simply exist, and your presence demands attention. So stop chasing recognition, build mastery. Stop seeking validation, create undeniable results. Don't try to fit into circles, build your own. The man or woman who is truly valuable never competes for space. They create their own arena. And when the world finally notices, they'll call you cold. They'll call you distant, they'll call you ruthless. But what they're truly saying is, you cannot be controlled. You've broken free from the invisible chains that keep most people in submission. You've learned the ruthless art of independence, the discipline of silence, and the elegance of control. In time, those who once ignored you will seek your guidance. Those who mocked your focus will need your wisdom. Those who walked away will regret it. But you'll be far beyond their reach. You won't need revenge. Your evolution will be enough because the truly powerful never chase, they attract. They don't demand respect, they command it. And they don't announce their worth, they embody it. That is the ruthless art of becoming dangerously valuable. A silent storm in a world of noise. An enigma that no one can fully understand, yet everyone feels compelled to follow. You will not be the loudest, you will not be the kindest. But you will be the most necessary. And that is power. When you reach that level of power, where your worth is unquestionable, your silence unnerves people, and your presence demands attention, you enter a different realm of existence. You no longer chase opportunities, they come to you. You no longer seek belonging. You define the space others wish to enter. This is the transformation every powerful mind eventually undergoes, the shift from needing to be noticed to being impossible to ignore. You see, most people live their entire lives in survival mode, begging for permission to be seen, constantly proving themselves to a world that doesn't care. But the dangerously valuable understand that proof is for the desperate. You don't need to explain what is already evident. You simply become, and the world adjusts to your presence. Understand this, power does not shout, it whispers. It moves quietly through conversations, decisions, and rooms where you're not even present. True value is influence that extends beyond your reach, like gravity. You're not always visible, but everything still orbits you. That's when you know you've reached mastery. Every great mind in history followed this pattern. They withdrew from noise, focused inward, built skill and strength in silence. And when they re-emerged, they changed the world. They didn't beg for approval. They didn't seek comfort. They embraced the discomfort of growth because they knew the comfortable never conquer. The world belongs to those who outlast distraction. And to outlast distraction, you must detach from validation. Let others seek applause, you seek control. Let them chase trends, you build timeless value. While they drown in the chaos of noise, you sharpen your silence into a weapon. People will never understand why your calm terrifies them, but it does. Because calmness is a sign of control, and control is rare. The powerful are calm because they have options. The weak are loud because they don't. So build options. Build enough leverage that no one's decision can break you. That's real freedom, when you no longer depend on anyone's permission to move, create, or speak. Freedom, in its purest form, is the consequence of value. The higher your value, the fewer the rules that bind you. The world bends around the indispensable, but crushes the ordinary. That is why your goal should never be to be liked, it should be to be needed. But remember, with value comes danger. When you become valuable, you become a threat. People will smile to your face and quietly plot your downfall. They'll envy your control, your confidence, your silence. And they'll disguise that envy as criticism, as moral judgment, as fake concern. Do not defend yourself. Let your results defend you. Because nothing silences enemies faster than undeniable success. The moment you respond emotionally, you give them power. The moment you explain yourself, you lower your value. Remain composed. Be the enigma they can't define. They can attack your character, but they can't touch your results. Never let your emotions be predictable. Predictable reactions are tools for manipulation. When people can no longer read you, they can no longer control you. That's what being dangerously valuable truly means. Not just being skilled, but being unreadable, uncheckable, and untouchable. Becoming that person requires brutal self-discipline. You will face moments when you doubt yourself. When the silence feels too heavy, when you question if the path of power is worth the loneliness it demands. But remember, isolation is the price of elevation. The higher you rise, the fewer people can breathe at your altitude. Use that solitude, let it transform you. In silence you learn, in silence you evolve. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly, the thoughts the noise of the world tried to drown. Every powerful person has walked through that valley of solitude, where no one clapped, no one understood, and no one helped. But they walked anyway. Because they knew something most never realize, that comfort destroys greatness. If you can endure being misunderstood, you will outlast everyone. If you can stay disciplined when others give up, you'll become the one they depend on. And if you can detach your emotions from the need for approval, you'll become a force that can't be stopped. When you reach that level, people will start to orbit you. Not because they like you, but because they need you. And in this world, being needed is the highest currency of all. Power is not in domination, it's in control. Control of self, control of reactions, control of direction. That control makes others respect you, even in silence. So stay silent when they argue, stay calm when they panic. Stay focused when they get distracted. Your composure will speak louder than their words ever could. And when people look at you and wonder why you never break, why you never rush, why you never beg, they'll feel something they can't describe. It's not fear, it's not envy. It's respect. That respect isn't given, it's earned by years of becoming dangerously valuable, so keep building in the dark. Keep learning while others sleep. Keep refining while others waste time. Let them laugh now, let them doubt. But one day, they will realize you were never competing with them. You were competing with your former self. And when you finally step into the light, they'll see what true value looks like. Calm, confident, and untouchable. That is the final truth Machiavelli understood. That survival belongs to the useful, but dominance belongs to the indispensable. Be useful until you're needed, then become so necessary that the world would rather bend than see you fall. That is the ruthless art of becoming dangerously valuable. There will come a point in your evolution when you realize you no longer fit where you once belonged. The conversations that once excited you will now bore you. The people you used to admire will begin to feel small. Not because you've become arrogant, but because you've outgrown the noise. Growth isolates you from comfort. And that isolation is the birthplace of transformation. When you start to understand power, you also begin to understand people. You'll notice how easily they're swayed by emotion, how desperately they seek approval, how terrified they are of being alone. They trade their freedom for acceptance every single day. They live on their knees and call it peace. But the one who dares to stand alone, even for a while, becomes someone different. Someone unmovable. Someone who doesn't beg for permission to exist. The more you evolve, the less you explain. The less you justify. Because true strength doesn't argue, it acts. Power doesn't need validation. It's felt, not spoken. It's recognized, not announced. And when people begin to feel that energy from you, they shift how they treat you. Their tone softens, their words change. They hesitate before speaking your name. Because deep down, they sense you no longer need them. That's the secret. Value removes dependence. When you depend on nothing, everything depends on you. The powerful man, the powerful woman, they are not driven by the need to impress. They are driven by the need to build, to understand, to conquer their weaknesses. That's why their confidence feels different. It's not loud. It's stable. It's unshakable. You see, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance screams to be noticed. Confidence doesn't care if it is. Arrogance is a mask for insecurity. Confidence is the silence of mastery. When you reach that level, you stop talking about what you'll do because you're already doing it. You stop comparing yourself because you realize no one else is playing your game. And while the world argues over opinions, you're busy shaping reality. That's what makes you dangerous. Not your words, not your attitude, but your ability to move in silence while everyone else makes noise. The truth is, people will never understand the kind of focus it takes to become powerful. They'll never see the nights you spent alone, the failures you endured, the tears you swallowed, or the temptations you rejected. All they'll see is the final version of you, composed, controlled, unstoppable, and they'll call it easy. They'll call it luck, but luck favors the disciplined. Every person who ever achieved greatness had to walk through doubt, betrayal, and exhaustion. The difference is, they didn't stop. They used pain as a teacher. They used rejection as fire. They used loss as fuel. That's how they built their value, not by avoiding hardship, but by transforming it into strength. Machiavelli understood this law well, that a man becomes powerful not by avoiding enemies, but by outlasting them. Every attack against you, every lie, every betrayal, it's proof that you're rising. Weak men aren't envied. Irrelevant people aren't hated. If you have enemies, it's because you have influence. Let that be your confirmation that you're becoming valuable. But remember, never fight battles that don't build empires. Not every insult deserves your attention. Not every attack deserves your reaction. Reserve your energy for what builds your legacy. Silence is your sword. Patience is your shield. The longer you stay calm, the more they reveal themselves. And when they've shown all their cards, you'll move once and win completely. That's the Machiavellian principle. Never fight for victory. Position yourself so that victory becomes inevitable. So while others chase temporary validation, you build permanent leverage. While they seek popularity, you seek control. While they want to be known, you aim to be remembered. Because fame fades, attention shifts, but true value that endures. To become dangerously valuable, you must stop seeking external power and start cultivating internal strength. Power built from within can't be taken because it doesn't depend on anything outside of you. It lives in your discipline, your detachment, your decisions. Wake up before the world does. Move before they move. Think 5 steps ahead. Let them underestimate you. It's your greatest advantage. Let them mock you for being quiet. It's how you stay unpredictable. Let them assume you're weak until it's too late to stop you. And when they finally realize what you've become, they'll see what Machiavelli meant. That power belongs not to the loud, not to the kind, not to the many, but to the necessary. One day, you'll reach a point where your worth is so undeniable that you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. People will compete for your time, for your presence, for your approval, but you'll give it sparingly. Because you'll understand the truth, value decreases when it's overexposed, so stay rare. Stay selective, stay silent, make your moves quietly. Let results be your voice. And when they finally speak your name, it won't be out of pity. It'll be out of respect. That's when you'll know you've mastered the ruthless art of becoming dangerously valuable. When you've reached the final stage of value, the air around you changes. You no longer need to speak loudly, no longer need to explain your purpose. People sense it before you even open your mouth, that quiet, commanding energy that tells them you are not one of them anymore. You've crossed the line between ordinary existence and strategic power. The world becomes slower for you. You see things others miss. You can read people's motives in their eyes, hear their insecurity in their laughter, sense their fear in their silence. You begin to see life as a chessboard, not chaos. And you, not them, are the one moving the pieces. At this level, your greatest weapon is not aggression, it's patience. You wait, you observe. You move when it matters, not when emotion demands it. You understand that the impatient reveal themselves first and the loud destroy themselves early. You have no rush because you already know what's yours cannot be taken, only delayed. And when others burn out chasing validation, you burn steady, consistent, unstoppable. That's what makes you dangerous. The world expects rage and reaction. It never expects stillness and control. Stillness is misunderstood by the weak. They think it's passivity when it's really precision. You do not waste energy explaining, defending, or proving. You conserve it for execution, the moment where everything changes. You let the noise around you collapse under its own chaos while you remain untouched. That's the mark of a truly valuable person, not how loud they rise, but how calmly they endure. Because anyone can perform in good times. Only the powerful thrive in silence, rejection, and uncertainty. You become forged in it. You become unstoppable because you've survived the storms that destroyed others. There's a moment in every transformation when you realize you no longer need revenge. You no longer need recognition. You no longer care about being understood. You've transcended it all. You look at those who doubted you and you feel nothing. No anger, no pride, no need to prove. Just distance, detachment, mastery. That's the final form of power, emotional indifference. When nothing can pull you from your path. When their words are wind. When their approval means nothing because you've already validated yourself. From that point on, life becomes simple. Every move you make has purpose. Every connection you allow has strategy. You don't chase opportunities. You choose them. You don't beg to belong. You build your own territory. You don't explain yourself to anyone. You let your consistency speak in your place. People will begin to describe you in ways they can't understand, cold, mysterious, too focused. But deep down, they admire what they can't reach. They see your calm as power, your silence as depth, your distance as authority. That's because they're trapped in emotions you've already mastered. To them, you'll always feel like something foreign, something they want near but can never possess. That's what dangerous value does. It draws people in and keeps them uncertain. They want your approval, but they fear your rejection. They crave your energy, but can't handle your standards. That balances your strength. You don't need to chase respect when you've become the definition of it. You don't need to control people when your presence already does. Machiavelli understood that power is not given, it's crafted through observation, strategy, and detachment. And the one who controls their inner world eventually controls the outer one. When you master yourself, your emotions, your time, your focus, you master others without even trying. Because people are ruled by what they can't control. Their anger, their fear, their need to be seen, those are chains. But you've broken them. You've become a free mind in a world full of captives. And freedom, real freedom, that's the rarest form of value there is. Because when you're free, you can't be bought. You can't be manipulated. You can't be broken. They can offer you everything, money, fame, comfort, and you'll smile because you already have the only thing that matters, power over yourself. And that self-mastery terrifies people. It reminds them of what they could have been if they had stayed disciplined. It exposes their weakness. It mirrors their potential, the one they abandoned for comfort. So they'll whisper your name, they'll gossip, they'll try to find flaws, let them. Because while they talk, you're already building the next empire in silence. In time, they'll understand what you've become, not a king, not a leader, not even a success story, but something rarer, a force. The kind of person whose absence changes the room, whose silence carries more weight than another's speech, whose very existence demands respect without a word. That's the essence of Machiavellian mastery, the quiet domination of the world through presence, not noise. So stay calm while others panic. Stay focused while others fade. Stay valuable while others waste their time trying to be visible. Because visibility fades, value remains. And when the world finally understands that your name carries power, that your silence commands attention, and that your mind cannot be controlled, they'll realize too late that you've mastered it all. You've mastered yourself. You've mastered them. When you finally become dangerously valuable, something inside you shifts forever. You stop chasing survival and start commanding reality. You no longer wait for opportunities. You manufacture them. You no longer seek validation. You decide what's worthy of your attention. The world begins to bend, not because it suddenly favors you, but because you've learned how to bend yourself first. Most people never reach this stage because they crave comfort over clarity. They want recognition before mastery. They want rewards without sacrifice. But you've taken the darker path. You've walked through the fire long enough to realize that the only way to rise above everyone is to stop being like anyone. Every day you sharpen yourself. Your focus becomes your weapon. Your silence becomes your armor. Your consistency becomes your crown. While others spend their days explaining, comparing, and competing, you execute quietly, ruthlessly, relentlessly, and slowly the balance of power begins to shift. The ones who used to doubt you now look for your approval. The ones who ignored you now study your movements. They wonder how you did it, how you turned from someone invisible into someone untouchable. They'll never understand that it wasn't luck or timing, it was discipline. It was 1,000 silent days of doing what others avoided. That's the secret most people never discover. Value is not built in noise, it is built in shadows. When the world sleeps, you're learning. When they party, you're planning. When they give up, you start again. You make yourself so strong, so skilled, so precise, that eventually you become the opportunity others are chasing. But remember, being dangerously valuable comes with isolation. You will lose people. Not because you wrong them, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. They'll call you obsessed, cold, detached, and they'll be right. Because obsession is what separates the powerful from the powerless. Detachment is what protects your focus from being drained by mediocrity. At some point, you'll stop needing to announce your wins. You'll stop sharing your plans. You'll stop defending your ambitions. You'll move like a shadow, silent, unseen, but always advancing. People will only notice when it's too late, when your presence dominates every space you enter. You'll realize power isn't loud, it's calm. It's the quiet certainty in your eyes that says, I don't need to prove anything. That's when people start moving differently around you. They'll lower their tone. They'll choose their words carefully, because they'll feel something they can't describe, the gravity of your self-control. And here's the truth, value is not about how many people know your name. It's about how few can match your mind. It's about having such clarity that you no longer react to every threat, every opinion, every insult. You've transcended the noise. You've become the signal. This world respects one thing, leverage. And leverage comes from power. Not physical, not social, but psychological power. The ability to remain calm when everyone else collapses. The ability to control your reactions, your desires, your emotions. That's real dominance, because a man who controls himself cannot be controlled by anyone. When you become that kind of person, the one who cannot be bribed, cannot be flattered, cannot be provoked, you rise above the herd. You become a storm in human form, silent until you decide to move, unstoppable when you do. They'll try to study your strategy, but they'll never replicate your discipline. They'll try to compete with your image, but they'll never match your substance. Because what makes you dangerous is invisible, your patience, your endurance, your refusal to break. And one day, when the world looks for who truly holds the strings, it won't be the loudest, it won't be the most famous. It will be the one who has mastered himself in silence, the one who no longer needs to prove power, because he is power. That's what Machiavelli understood. True influence is not about control, it's about inevitability. When your value becomes so high, your presence becomes a requirement. You stop chasing, you start choosing, you stop asking, you start deciding. You don't follow the rules of the game anymore. You are the game. And those who once overlooked you will one day whisper your name with both admiration and fear, because they'll realize they never stood a chance. You were building your kingdom the entire time, not in the light, but in the dark. Not with noise, but with focus. Not with promises, but with results. And now, as you stand above it all, silent, powerful, unbothered, you understand what it truly means to be untouchable. You've mastered the ruthless art of becoming dangerously valuable.